Hey guys, my name's Joe. I'm starting this crowdfunding campaign for a good friend of mine. His name is Dave, and basically the short version of this is he suffered a catastrophic brain injury, which left him paralysed with a speech injury as well. And he was an avid angler prior to this injury, and with this paralysis down one side of his body now, he can't fish. And so there's this awesome setup that comes out of the States. It's called RexFly. It's this basically chest mount which they've modified a spin rod. So for those of you who fish, it's a modified spin rod and reel which basically clips into the chest. So after you unclip it and cast it, you can clip it onto your chest, and then you can reel the line back in and retrieve your lure or the fish if you've hooked up. So that's the short version of this story. The longer, slightly longer version is, I've spent a lot of time with Dave over the past handful of years. And yeah, basically he suffered a brain injury a handful of years ago. And there's two types of brain injuries. The first one is traumatic brain injury, which generally is caused via a violent sort of blow to the head, and generally this is it happens during car accidents or motorbike accidents, or people get into a fight or have a really bad stack. That's a really common way for that injury to occur. The second type of brain injury is a non-traumatic brain injury, and generally these are more medical scenarios. The most appropriate version of that I can think of is a stroke, and that's exactly what happened for Dave. So Dave was a builder. He was an angler, a camper, a motorbike rider. He was a family guy. He was just your quintessential Aussie, and he's a really good bloke. And he lived an awesome life prior to his injury. And when he faced this injury, it rocked him. So he had a pretty major stroke. He ended up with paralysis down one side of his body, and through a bit of neuroplasticity, he's managed to sort of gain some movement back in his leg, which has allowed him to walk with a walking stick over short distances. But generally he spends most of his time in a wheelchair. And the other side of his brain injury, which has impacted him pretty majorly, is what's known as aphasia. So brain injuries are crazy things. They can affect you in any way that you can think of, because your brain makes up most of your function in terms of your neural pathways and so on. So the injury for Dave affected his speech processing unit in his brain. And what that means is, for him, he can think of all the words that he wants to say and how he wants to say them, but when he goes to basically communicate those to his mouth, he just can't find the words to spit out of his mouth. And in reality, how this looks for him is our communication from day to day is basically him answering yes or no, or very short responses to questions that he's asked. And Dave can come up with some short sentences himself, but generally speaking, it's very short responses to questions that are asked to him. So yeah, I spend most Monday mornings with Dave, helping him around his home and his yard, and we do all sorts of things, from gardening to fixing things to building things, and basically everything I do at his house, generally I'm learning from him, given that he was a builder and he's got so much life skills and life experience. I'm often asking the questions to Dave, and he's generally giving me answers and teaching me how to do things. And I'm amazed at his patience and his kindness and his positive outlook given his circumstance. It's really incredible. And recently I've been getting into fishing myself, and I've been doing a lot of research on how to target specific species and specific tactics on how to fish. And every time I come up with a new method or a new strategy, or I want to talk about something with him, I'll float it with him, and generally he'll say, oh yeah, I know about that, I've tried that, or I've caught fish doing that. And he was a great angler, a great fisherman, and since his injury he hasn't fished anymore. And I said to him in recent weeks, would you get back into fishing? And he said no. And this intrigued me because I knew that he loved it before and I knew he was good at it. And I asked him, well, why not? And he said, well, I've only got one arm, I can't fish anymore. So we got onto Google, we did a little bit of research, and straight away we found this Rex fly fishing mount, and his curiosity was, it perked up. And I thought, well, if we can achieve this setup, if we can raise the funds for this, then we can get him back on the water. So this is a video to all my friends and family and all of Dave's friends and family, and as wide as we can spread this to generate $700 to fund some equipment for him, which would create a setup, a rig that would allow him to fish on his own or relatively independently, and get some enjoyment out of that and for his life again. So please share this video if you could. It would mean the world to me, it would mean the world to Dave, and let's see if we can generate $700, and if we can, then we'll see you on the water hopefully.